Something that's been incredibly popular nowadays are video games. People love these things, like, a lot. Everyone's playing these things, whether they're playing a fighting game, a puzzle game, a music game, a dating simulator, or playing a game where you fall down inside the deepest depths of hell to slaughter everything in your path until there are no survivors. And horror games. Horror games have been around for a very long time, and people love being scared, so they decide to play their favorite horror games. Or watch their favorite YouTubers play the game because they're too much of a cow to play themselves. Out of every kind of horror games there are some more popular than others. One horror genre that I can name at the top of my head is mascot horror. Now, I don't need to explain to you what mascot horror is, but if you're some kind of 5-year-old kid who doesn't understand how video game genres work, first of all, get off of this video. Second of all, I will explain. Mascot horror is known for its, well, mascots. Mascot horror doesn't use hordes of zombies or just a house that makes you lose your mind. These games uses a character or groups of characters that can make you look at the TV and say, hey, I know that guy. The villains of the game are normally something from children's media in the game's universe or sometimes from our universe. One example is Sonic.exe, an indie mascot horror game based on a very popular creepypasta in the 2010s, where Sonic kills most of his friends, animals on Green Hill, and even Eggman. Yeah, the early 2000s was a weird time to exist. One of the biggest reasons why mascot horror is so popular is because of a game known as Five Nights at Freddy's, a game developed by a man known as Scott Cawthon who was at his lowest because people wanted nothing to do with his games, but decided to give it one last shot before quitting entirely, and boy oh boy, was it worth it? I won't be going too deep into FNAF, or otherwise this video is not going to be what I wanted it to be, but let me just tell you that this game is known to many people as the godfather of mascot horror, even beating Slender Man, sadly. Now you may be wondering, or not since you saw the title, why I'm talking about this. Well, because in 2021 a new mascot horror game was made to try and take the competition, and that game was Poppy Playtime. Poppy Playtime was developed by Mob Entertainment, a video game studio ran by two brothers Zach and Seth Belanger, sorry if I butchered the name, who before making video games made a Minecraft animation channel known as Enchanted Mob, who makes Minecraft music videos of nerdcore songs. And later, with the help of two twins Zachary and Micah Preciado, again, sorry if I butchered the name, started working on another channel known as Zamination. Also a Minecraft channel which walks with horror stuff like Five Nights at Freddy's, Squid Game, Doki Doki Literature Club, and Bindi and the Ink Machine. And honestly, they're surprisingly a really good watch, highly suggested. Just ignore the weird clickbaity thumbnails. But while they aren't making funny FNAF animations about Monica falling in love with Freddy Fazbear, they're working on Poppy Playtime. And since Chapter 4 recently came out at the time of writing this, I decided why not sit down and tell you how I feel about the game. What I like about it, what I hate about it, and what I really hate about it. And if this video ends up being a bit too long, I'm not sorry. Poppy Playtime's first chapter, which was titled A Tight Squeeze, was released on Steam on October 12th of 2021 and instantly hit the YouTube market. Everyone was playing this game when it came out for two reasons. First of all, it was free, so you could just download the game and get chased by everyone's favorite blue hugging killer. And second, it was made by the people who were already popular for their funny haha Minecraft videos. The biggest complaint I've got for chapter 1 is the horror aspect of it. In case you didn't know, here's a fun fact for you. Poppy Playtime was supposed to be made for kids, and because of this, they held back on the spooks a lot. The scariest the chapter gets is the chase scene where Huggy Wuggy, that's the name of the creature that wants to kill you by the way, starts chasing you in the vents, but that happens near the end of the chapter. It doesn't even get scary until near the end. That's also what they did with the blood in the game. Now, I'm sorry, but I'm not saying that you need blood in your horror game for it to be scary, but you can tell that Mob Entertainment wanted to add blood in their game, but was too scared to since they wanted the game to be child-friendly. Well, that's child-friendly as it can be. So they did, but they slapped a line of it in the corner in some of the rooms. That is literally it. The only thing in the horror aspect I do like is that they did a pretty good job in using the fear of being stalked. Once Huggy is gone from his post after you get the power back on, he begins stalking you around the factory, like slipping his hand in the door when you come near to sticking his head out of one of the assembly lines. But that's honestly the only thing I can give props to for this game when it comes to scales. Now for the part I'm sure a few of you have been waiting for. Lore. I don't want to talk about the lore for too long, but let me just say this. The story is a pretty interesting one, and Mob Entertainment did a pretty good job so far, so I'll give them that much. Whether people agree with me or not, this is my opinion. Now, people might be questioning me through their phones, what do you think about the length of this chapter? Because you played through the other chapters or watched someone play through them, you've probably noticed how long, especially chapter 4, they are. This chapter was incredibly short, like the fastest time you can beat it that I know of is 7 minutes, meanwhile the others are like 3 hours long. I don't personally mind this, especially since this was the first chapter. And when the game came out, everyone loved it, and Mob knew that they had a gem in their hands, and what better way to show everyone that by releasing another game in just a few months. Chapter 2 was released on May 5th, 2022, just a few months after the first one, and was it an improvement? Yes and no. When it comes to scales, it did a better job than the first chapter, with the chase being a bit longer and Mommy Longlegs being a bit more threatening than Huggy because she can actually talk. So yes, she can and will threaten to eat your insides. Which, fun fact, Mommy is voiced by Elsie Lovelock. You've probably heard of her if you're on the internet. She played Uzi from Modern Drones, the Zoink Queen from The Amazing Digital Circus, and my personal favorite, Meggie Splitsoul from SMG4, after Lizzie Freeman quit due to schedule problems. Anyways, that was just a little fun fact for you. And a bunch of other indie animation characters. They get points for that. However, funny thing is that even though Mommy Longlegs is the villain of this chapter, she isn't even the scariest thing here. That crown goes to PJ Pugapilla. Another thing that's a bit better than chapter 1 is the plot of this one. After letting Poppy free of her case, yes you did that because your character never watched Annabelle apparently, she tries helping you out, but before she can do anything, Mommy grabs her with her slinky arms and drags her down into the underground. And can I just say that even though you get Poppy out of the stupid case, you still don't get to know her character because she gets freaking kidnapped? You don't hear anything about her character until the end of the chapter after killing Mommy and saving her. Even then it ain't much. All she says is that she needs you and that you can save her and the other toys. That's literally it. Nothing, absolutely nothing else happens. Yeah, Poppy's presence felt kinda useless because she did nothing to progress the chapter besides being doll-napped. The only thing that she did set up was the end of the chapter. After saving Poppy from Elsie the Aerokinetic, you get on the train that helps you escape the factory, only for Poppy to be like, you fool! And completely change the directions of the train, only for it to crash next to the entrance of Playkill, which I will talk about in the next section of this video. I realized I talked about the ending without ever talking about the important parts of this chapter because of this demon of a doll. And that was the minigames. After Mommy takes Poppy away, she tells you to complete a certain amount of minigames to get the passwords for the train you need to escape. One of the minigames that she forces you to play is a memory game, where you press the buttons that the game tells you to. While this is happening, a giant bunny known as Bonzo will start lowering towards you. If you get a button wrong, he will go faster and faster, and if he gets to you, you can probably tell what happens. However, if you do get the pattern correctly, he raises back to the top. This minigame is fine in my opinion. I could say this is the lamest out of them all. It's just a memory game, nothing too special. However, I can't say the same for the other two minigames. The next minigame is called Whack-a-Huggy, which is exactly what it sounds like. In this minigame, you gotta smack the brains out of a bunch of multicolored Huggy Wuggies before they get to you. Not much of a problem, right? Well, that's what many people thought until they realized the room is freaking dark. And not only that, but there are multiple pipes in the walls for the tiny beasts to go through, and there are multiple of them. And because the room is so dark, the blue and red Huggies are pretty hard to spot. So yeah, this minigame proves itself to be a bit challenging, and took many people a couple of tries to beat it. The third and final minigame is called Statues, and this is my personal favorite minigame of the three because it introduces you to the true most horrifying being of this chapter. This creature. In the minigame, you must get away from PJ and get to the other side of the room. However, there's a twist. Every time the room brights up, you're supposed to stand still and you're not allowed to move again until the lights goes off. But don't be too slow or... And that's really it for all the minigames. They were a pretty nice concept for the story, but that's about it. Once you complete all the minigames, Mommy starts trying to kill you since you cheated on statues by leaving through the broken glass, and will activate what I believe is the best chase scene in the game. Remember when I said that Chapter 2 was a tiny bit scarier than Chapter 1? Well, that's because of this part. This is my favorite chase scene because of the atmosphere. Webs everywhere, the corridor pretty dimly lit. Also, it doesn't help how you can hear Mommy moan and groan from every angle. I just really like this chase. Also, why does it look like Mommy got into a fight with someone at this part? She's so dotty. She wasn't like that at the beginning. Overall, I think Chapter 2 is only a tiny bit better than Chapter 1, but still not a great chapter. I can tell that Mob Entertainment is trying, I really do, but I don't care about this game right now. That is until... Chapter 3, which was titled Deep Sleep, was released on January 30th, 2024, nearly 2 years after Chapter 2. Yep, Mob Entertainment definitely learned their lesson from Chapter 2 to not pull a Scott Cawthon and release it 3 months after the previous game, or your game will suck. Which is one of the reasons why I think Chapter 2 isn't really all that good, because they were rushing Chapter 2 a bit after the success of Chapter 1, but they definitely took their time on Chapter 3, because this one was, dare I say it, actually good for once. Poppy Playtime is not a scary game, but this chapter actually broke that rule. This was not like any of the other chapters. This one was actually pretty scary in my opinion. Yeah, I remember when I said that they kept holding back on the scares because they wanted kids to play their games. Yeah, well they realized that kids would play and watch anything they want despite the age rating and gave up. Of course the chapter isn't as scary as your typical horror game like Amnesia: The Dark Descent, but it's still pretty banger. The first thing I want to talk about is the premise of the chapter. After Poppy becomes a traitor and wrecks your only way out of the factory, Catnap finds you and throws you inside a dumpster. After escaping, you find yourself at the orphanage at the toy factory called Playcare. In the chapter, you're trying to get rid of a red smoke that makes you sleepy and crazy out of Playcare. And who's helping you? Why, a small child-sounding person on the phone named Ollie, who may or may not be the prototype, but hey, no spoilers, right? And the entire time you're trying to complete your goal, Catnap keeps stalking you. This feline is completely in love with the prototype and worships this guy, because apparently the prototype saved one of his 9 lives. Or all of them. I don't know. And as a reward for spending 5 hours of your life trying to get rid of the caustic gas, you get something that has never been seen in Poppy Playtime history. Boss fights. Boss fights pretty simple. Charge the giant machine in the room using batteries to create the Mega Shock, while keeping Catnap away using steam. Once the machine is charged, you can grab it and make your hand become all powerful and shoot Catnap. Once he realized he might have found his match, the prototype's hand sticks out from the roof and make Catnap think he's saved, only for the prototype to do this. I think the boss fight was a really good way to get rid of Catnap, because all the other chapters was just get chased and kill them. That is literally it. I just think it's a nice fresh breath air. But besides Catnap, what I also wanted to talk about in this section was the 2 main buildings of the orphanage that you go into, Home Sweet Home and the school. Home Sweet Home, in my opinion, is the best part of this entire chapter. Why do you ask? Well, just watch this footage. Just try and convince me this isn't eerie. Also, this is the first time Poppy Playtime went more towards the psychological roots, and if you don't know, I just love that stuff, which is why games like Doki Doki Literature Club and Me-Side are so close to my heart. Now for the elephant of the room. Who comes for you? Well, you think Catnap, right? You know, because he's the villain of the chapter? Well, no. The enemy of Home Sweet Home is your imagination. Now, something I haven't really touched up on is the red gas. Now, I've already told you that the red gas makes you sleepy and crazy. Well, Catnap is able to spread the gas out of his mouth, not just in his monster form, but also his toy form, so kids can fall asleep. Walking around in Home Sweet Home, you'll find a VHS tape that basically tells you that you never should have came back to the factory. You know, like literally everything else in this building. After it threatens you, a large, much more scary version of Huggy Wuggy becomes that little girl from the ring and appears out of the TV and kills you. However, it turns out that he didn't really kill you, it was just your imagination playing with you, because the red smoke makes you and makes you believe that everything that was happening in the building up to that point where Huggy kills you was real. Home Sweet Home is always going to be the best part of this chapter. There will be no and, if, or buts. You cannot make me change my mind. And now, the school. This place is also a bit eerie, but not as much as Home Sweet Home. The scariest it gets is the schoolroom teacher who supposedly ate the other teachers and eerily talks to a weapon that's made out of pencils. That's really it. Now, the final thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to stuff I liked is the part. Going around the orphanage, you can find a giant version of Dog's Day that's tied up against a wall. After chatting with him for a little bit, a bunch of tiny versions of the smiling critters comes out of the walls, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, literally go up his stomach and starts controlling him from the inside while eating him. This part was probably the most shocking part of this chapter because this was 100% the most gruesome death in the series at this point, and boy oh boy, watching this was probably made so many players think, yo bro, what were you smoking? Now, I've probably praised this game a bit too much, and don't get me wrong, this game wasn't perfect. Ask speedrunners. There were so many bugs when it came out in Steel Eye that people were able to beat the game in an hour. The world record nowadays is 8 minutes at the time of this video. They took a 3-hour long game and beat it in 8 minutes. Imagine being kidnapped and dumping someone in their house only for them to come back and killing you in 5 minutes. I would have just believed that that was the way the Grim Reaper intended for me to die. You know what else I really disliked about this chapter? Puzzles. They were everywhere for some reason. I don't know what's with indie horror games and puzzles, but they seem to really like them for some reason. I, on the other hand, do not. Other than that, I don't really have anything else to say about Chapter 3. It was an amazing chapter in my opinion. I really enjoyed it. It's more than I thought I was going to. Mob Entertainment was really cooking in this chapter, but can they keep it up with Chapter 4? Only one way to find out. Poppy Playtime Chapter 4, which was titled Safe Haven, was released on January 30th, 2025, and my thoughts on it is a bit.
This lighting kind of sucks. I have the script. Kinda. It's not great. I'm probably not gonna listen to a whole lot of it. It's more like a bullet point list, if anything. I could have given less of a care about this game when it first came out, or when it second came out, or the third time. I want to like these games. I don't ever want to hate anything, especially not something that has, something to say, right? Like, it's the most shallow thing I've ever seen, but it is trying to say something, and I can gauge it a little bit. But like, the first 3 chapters, I can't see what I'm pointing at, so I'm just gonna do this instead. That way I can like motion track it and make myself very depressed and want to die, because video editing is hard and a lot of time. I was hoping Chapter 4 would be different because it looked like it was going to care more about the story than the ooga booga cute thing wants to kill you. But then like 3 times it does the ooga booga cute thing wants to kill you, because like, well, twice. I could care less about the doctor. I'm sorry. Game is a lot of padding. It's a lot of padding. This chapter's just padding. It's just like, this thing happens, fetch quest, and shout out to Tetrabit Gaming for his little behind the scenes stuff. I know there's other YouTubers that do it, and I forgot names. I'm sorry. I mostly watch Tetrabit Gaming for this sort of stuff because it just happens to be in my recommendations. I'm not very YouTube attached or anything. I'm not really good at that circle. Yeah, but shout out to him. Apparently there was supposed to be a lot more side quests, and I feel like that could have been good or bad. I know that was a weird thing to say, good or bad, because like, no duh, anything could be that way, but like, one of the reasons I was so excited for this chapter is that I mentioned it already. Sorry, I'm just like rambling now. It looked like they were actually going to have a story. Really thought this chapter was going to do something with the characters, right? With the situation everyone is in, how they feel about it, what they're going through, how they're surviving it. Like, you have the safe haven. You have Joey the freaking Doughman, who is the best character in the game right now because he actually has feelings and talks to you about things and has motivations, but like, and like when it turns out, so like obviously spoilers, duh, I'm pretty sure you've already been warned about this. I don't know, I didn't see what all the rest of everything else looks like in this video. I just have this one section where I go crazy, go stupid, and then
The only one around here.
oh, he's probably still dead. Let's not, we don't have to worry about that yet. I'm still talking. You wanna, I'm still talking. I'm still talking. It's my turn. I feel like, despite how often it's brought up, this game does not talk enough about the torment that went on and was like inflicted upon children in this facility, right? This big facility with all this like really unnecessary stuff going on. Like, I'm probably recording this for like the third time because I keep going on rants about the other chapters. My chapter's supposed to be chapter 4. I thought I only cared about chapter 4. I say I don't give a rip about these games, but then I just go on tangents just forever. I probably have like a whole hour of footage that you're not going to see because I just can't shut up. Get chased, kill the bad guy. Get chased, kill the bad guy. Get chased, kill the bad guy. And like chapter 3 does it a little different, but not really. It's like, it like, oh, it has chase sequences, but technically it's not catnap. But like, if you really think about it, it probably was catnap. You're just hallucinating really bad, so you thought it was like nightmare huggy and whatever. And like that sequence was cool for like 5 seconds. This game has a lot of that was cool. Moving on kind of moments, if that makes sense. Yes, it is technically an indie studio, but at this point they have so much resources that this stuff shouldn't be happening. I do have written in my script that like, oh, you know, it's a little studio and don't get it twisted, you know, glitches or whatever, and they're gonna happen because they're, you know, they don't have as much budget or time. They do. They do have the budget and the time for that. As an indie studio, you do. Kind of. I know I'm making this sound really weird. These guys in specific have the time and resources to do that. And they didn't.
We changed the timeline. I can't show this on Twitch.
Ah! What you doing, buddy?
What? Oh!
No, he doesn't. Yeah, I think that he cares about the flashlight.
Wait, what? How many hits are in this barrel? That's ridiculous.
Give me my cog. Please, my retinas can't take it much longer.
There's so much bloom in this area. Why is this area filled with bloom? What the fuck?
Ow.
Map. It's actually getting louder every time I die. Stop it, so loud! What the f-
Oh my god, bro.
And this says a lot about, like, despite how serious they make it look, they're taking this chapter, or they took, it's already out and all that. They don't. They don't take it seriously at all. I think the only person who took it seriously is whoever, if it's more than one person or just one, whoever was in charge of this guy. He's the only thing. I mean, like, Kisty's cute, but like the only reason she's a good character is because she doesn't speak at all. The only good characters is the one that speaks the most and the one that doesn't speak at all. I don't know what to tell you. He was the only thing that I cared about in this game, because like the rest of it's just the state this was released in is very telling. They had plans, they had the resources, and they just chose not to for whatever reason. Probably because maybe they thought it was taking too long, they need to put another game out. Maybe they needed more money or something. But like, you can't sympathize with the we need more money angle after all of the other stuff they have pulled so far in their career. But I'm more focused on, like, they're obviously, totally forgot the message of their own game type of stuff that they were doing. You know, el problema is el capitalismo. Hopefully, you agree with me that NFTs are bad. And if you don't, you're lucky this is a PG channel. It's just really gross to force children to try to pay what little of their allowance, or try to force their parents into buying it and all that, just to get more information on your game. And as far as I'm aware, because I haven't seen anybody talk about it, apparently that information wasn't that important to begin with. Which nobody ever talks about it. How relevant was it really to the game at the end of the day? Oh, you get a little bit of insight to their backstory? That would have been fun to see in the game. But these characters aren't people. The chapter 4 made me realize that no matter how much I want to like these games, these characters aren't people. They are not seen or written as people. They are written as just they're characters. And that's a whole thing that I could make a whole other video on my channel, or maybe Sami Kina could make a whole thing about that. We could do it. We should collab together, maybe. I'm never gonna get another collab again because I killed him. I can fix that, don't worry. He still won't want to collab with me ever again, but I can fix it. So, like, he can't. Can he sue me if I bring him back to life? Let's talk about the Doctor. I don't like him. Not even as, like, a you're supposed to hate him sort of way. I don't like the way he's written. I already have a bit on this. I have a whole scrapped thing, but I didn't delete it yet. I'm just gonna copy and paste that back here, and it's gonna be a really weird cut. Good luck. And then I didn't. And then, like, let's talk about Yarnaby and Lamb Chop real quick. And the thing is, like, yeah, I know I keep bringing up Doey, and I also bring up Missy sometimes. If I didn't cut it all. I'm gonna talk about Doey last, because I have a lot of interesting opinions about him, because I like him. I like him a lot, and that's why I'm so mad. That's why I'm so stinking mad. But let's talk about Yarnaby and Lamb Chop. First of all, it took me a hot second to remember Lamb Chop's name, so that should tell you a lot about Lamb Chop already. And Yarnaby is a dog. You gave in! Yes, I did. Somebody wouldn't stop yelling. They wouldn't stop screaming at my door. You don't talk about the dog ever again after it dies. It's and the same thing with the stupid lamb. I forgot I have to hold my mic a stupid way because the freaking wire just falls out. So the lamb screams at you a couple times. You press a couple buttons and you leave. They make up all of these extra smiling critter designs and just, like, nothing happens. They're just there because they know about the smiling critter OC craze right now, and they're just like, oh, what if we made more of them so you guys have more OCs to make so we get more engagement? Hi, I put my trash can on the desk just so I could get this angle. Haha. Okay, listen. All of that stalling, just to, I'm afraid of talking about this topic. We need to talk about Doey. He's not one character, right? He's three. He's three young boys, all mashed into the one guy. And now, I don't think there's anything wrong with the fact that one of them is a troublesome child. It's because, like, he's not ever portrayed as evil. And that's great. That's great, actually. That's a really good step with this sort of rep. The ability to portray someone as angry without conflating it with being evil. Especially a child. Especially someone as traumatized as these three boys. But then, the end of the chapter happens. You get to really know him And you don't get to do that with anyone else, even with Poppy. She runs her mouth the entire game, and you barely know a thing about her other than she's mysterious. And then, like, oh, obviously, you know, she's the daughter of the one guy. I forgot his name. I don't care. I don't care. I'm calm again. For now. But I did care about Dowie, and that's the thing. I was really convinced that this was a good chapter because I liked the one guy. And maybe it would have stayed that way if they didn't do the thing. They did the thing. Get chased. Kill the bad guy. Dowie wasn't the bad guy. And I think they knew this, right? Like, they do this whole thing, like, as he's chasing you, as he's trying to kill you, he's just, he's complaining about how he's not good enough. He wasn't good enough to save anybody, how he's scared, how he just wants to go home. And I think that's really effective for all the wrong reasons. They don't do this with anybody else in the game. It's just him. So, like, when the repeating pattern of the other chapters is, I can hear you. See, she's mad too. She's angry too. She agrees with me. She's being just as yappy as I am. They almost did something good with this sympathetic angle of him doing that. What do the kids call it? Crashing out. Yeah, I think that was a valid crash out. Bro, crashed out so hard. I don't know where that came from. It's a really, really good phrase. I'm not making fun of y'all for using that phrase. It's actually really good. It explains it really well. Yeah, that's exactly what he did. That's what I'm about to do here in a minute. He lost everything. Like, he's probably been keeping up that haven for years and taking care of all those people. And, like, you can tell all, like, he's talking about, like, how he misses his mom and dad. Like, if you found the tape, you know how much that sucks to hear. He never wanted to hurt anybody on purpose. Like, he would only do it in self-defense. Or to protect someone else, which is how you meet him. I don't want to talk about Pianosaurus. He protects you as the first time you ever meet him. Like, yeah, he does the whole, like, pointing you... Ignore what I'm doing here. My cat, she's being needy. So, like, yeah, you already meet him doing all the, like, pointing the way and stuff, but the first proper, like, conversation you have with him, he protects you from dying, you know? If any of the other characters you had killed up to this point were laced with any amount of sympathy from the narrative, maybe Dowie's whole thing would have hit a little better. But at that point, it just feels really cynical. Yes, I can hear you! The idea that the only way out is death for these children because of some kind of damage people they should have trusted, adults they should have trusted, had done to them is nasty. It sucks. This isn't like a sometimes life sucks and then you die kind of thing. This is, like, more cynical than that somehow. Especially with Dowie. He tried so hard, and you came in and screwed it up. And you killed everybody. Including him. He reasonably loses his mind, because that's all he had. And you kill him. The last thing he says to you is...
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's not profound, or at least in my opinion, it's not. That's not, like, a fun kind of tragic. That's just really... I don't know. Because, like, I love me a good handful of misery, dude. We're not gonna get into that one, but... I am a tragedy enjoyer when it comes to my narratives, okay? I think it has a place. Like, the idea that he's unsavable because of stuff outside of his control, it gives gives Bloober Team energy, if that makes any sense. They managed to avoid that like whole evil alter trope when it comes to writing a system. They still killed him for the act of being upset. And that's weird to me. Like, I don't want to say they did this on purpose. Do not get me wrong. I do not think they did this on purpose as a slander toward, like, anybody who could at all relate to that sort of thing. But it still sucks! Now here is the last point I want to leave off on, because I don't want this to run for, like, 5 hours or whatever. It's not my video. I just wanted to come in and complain about a few things because I like to complain because I'm pretentious and I take things way too seriously, including video games, movies, and television shows made for children. You should hear my opinions on Ninjago. It's dumb! There's not a really good way to segue into this other than the Dowie situation. I think the player is the bad guy. I think the player needs to die. Like, all we know is there's something here that matters to us. What? A person? A thing? We're trying to get answers? Ooh, I don't care. You are a complacent, little puppet. You do everything you're told, and people die every single time. Even, like, yes, they're coming after you too, but also remember, you used to work here. Oh, she's mad. I made her mad. You need to remember that you used to work here. These people have a reason to hate you. Even in Chapter 4, you have people being like, oh my god, you used to work here. Can we really trust you? No, you can't! You cannot! You cannot trust this guy! You as a person... He's like, I'll see people make fan art of how they interpret the player. That's not the player, that's you. You're the sympathetic person who wants to save these people. The player... Or the protagonist, because you're the player, my bad. The protagonist is not. You don't get a choice but to do these things. And that's not your fault. That is the protagonist. Dude's just like, yeah, let's just kill him. That's all you do. That's all you do. You solve puzzles, you kill a guy. You solve puzzles, you kill a guy. You get chased, you kill a guy. I thought I was gonna be more passionate about the Dowie thing. No, this whole thing with the protagonist just like boils my bones, dude. What do you mean you're supposed to... Like, I don't think they're trying to say that you are the hero at all, but like, I do think you deserve to die. Chapter 5, the moment that door opens, Huggy needs to kill you. He needs to kill you so dead, and he needs to do it so bad. Like, he needs to make it look like it was more than one body. That kind of bad. He needs to make it look like soup, and then I'm going to... I need the protagonist to be turned into a fine paste, because none of this would have happened if they had just stayed home. You get like a little letter. It's like, there's something waiting for you. If you knew what was happening here, or like were involved at all, like you should know. You can't work in a place like this, as big as this, with all this crap happening without somebody knowing. There would have been a whistleblower. Don't be stupid. This guy knows, and he showed up anyway. This guy sucks. I don't know who this guy is. We don't know who this guy is, but he sucks. He needs to die. I need him turned into a fine paste. This game makes me dumb. There's a lot of things that make me dumb, but this game is definitely one of them. Yeah, long story short, Dowie the Doman, great character. Like him a lot. Michael Kovac, holy crap. I don't know if he pitch shifted his audio or if he could just do that, but it was cool. It's cool. I like him. I really like his voice acting. He's great in Murder Drones. That's the thing I know him most from. I don't care about a lot of the other stuff, especially the demon thing. The Doctor, boring. I've seen that character all over the place. He's just like one note in evil, and who cares? He dies anyway, just like everybody else. The Dowie dies. The Doctor dies. Yarnaby dies. Lamb Chop, I think, dies. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. Everybody in Safe Haven dies. I'm pretty sure Misty's still alive. She's missing an arm now, though. That poor thing. Holy crap. Poppy, she's probably going to die. Everybody from all the previous chapters are dead. It's just death all the way down. And if that's the message of the story, then I don't think it a lot of opinions on death all the way down stories. Because unlike a lot of the ones that I do like, because there's ones that I like, this one, there's no love here. There's no love despite it all. It's just misery and death, and that's it. And I don't think there's anything important to say about that. I don't think there's anything of substance about that. There was nothing. Joey had love, and he was killed for it. That's the message I got. Joey did his best to make up for something that he had no control over in the first place. When the thing with his parents, there's no way he could have done anything about that. That wasn't his fault, and he was still killed for it. But you're alive. The protagonist is still alive. Somehow. And he still will be. I think by the end of the game, and he still will be. She, maybe. I'm pretty sure it's a he. It has very man energy. The way that... Not going to get into that. Let's not start an argument in the comments now. Oh, shoot. Sonic King is still dead, isn't he? Hold on. Oh my god, the wires. The wires. Oh my god, my shoes. He's still dead. Oh crap.
Okay, now that I've got that maniac out of the way, I can finally explain to you my feelings on Chapter 4. Why is the video so long right now? What did that guy do to the video? What did he tell? Overall, Poppy Playtime isn't the greatest horror indie game out there, but to be fair, you can't really say Mob wasn't trying. They really were, and you can tell. And if you weren't paying attention, Poppy isn't over yet. With the 4th chapter out and giving us that cliffhanger of an ending, we're just going to have to wait for Chapter 5 to find out what happens next. And hey, if you get really bored while waiting for it, you can always read the Poppy Playtime orientation book, learn the lore, and wait for us for the Poppy Playtime movie. Yes, they announced the movie a couple days after the release of Chapter 1. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, and have a good night's sleep knowing that your dolls will always be watching you.